So there'll be a link on the screen in front of you there. Don't worry, you don't have to frantically type it all out. We will post it in the chat as well. And you have some time to go on and vote for your People's Choice. We will announce the People's Choice winner at the end of the evening, alongside when we announce who the winner of the $150,000 investment is. So until then, we have an amazing keynote fireside chat taking place. So I would like to welcome local power duo, Renée Warren and Dan Martell, who are involved in this fireside chat. They're even matching tonight. Me and my husband need to get on this level. And it'll be moderated this evening by our Accelerate Okanagan CEO, Brea Lake. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Brea. Take it away.
Hello, everyone. So excited to be here joining you. And thank you to Renee and Dan for coming in person and getting to sit down today. I'm looking forward to our chat.
We're excited.
Thanks for having us.
So first, I'll start by giving you guys a little bit of an introduction for all of those who are tuning in, and then we'll jump right into some questions. So Renee is an award-winning entrepreneur, inspirational speaker, author, and founder of We Wild Women, which helps entrepreneurs start and scale their own businesses. Renee firmly believes that the best advice comes from someone who's successfully done it, been there, gone through it. And her approach to coaching comes from over 22 years of experience as an entrepreneur. And we are very lucky that Accelerate Okanagan also calls Renee one of our mentors for our companies. And then Dan is a serial entrepreneur who's built several multi-million dollar technology companies starting at the age of 17. He's also an award-winning angel investor, having invested in companies like Intercom, Udemy, Hootsuite, Unbounce. Today, he's an executive coach focused exclusively on B2B SaaS through his business, the SAAS Academy. So I really wanted to jump in. I know you guys both have very lengthy accolades, but if you had to boil it down, what are 3 words that you would use to describe yourselves?
Oh, I know this. I practiced.
All right.
For me, it would be curiosity, creativity, and cheerleading.
Love it. The 3 C's.
Yeah.
Clearly prepped.
Over dinner.
Yeah. I'm like, it would have been funner if we picked each other's 3 words, right?
Yeah.
Mine, I say obsessed, driven, and loud talker.
Yeah.
Passionate, definitely passionate.
Love that. That's so great. So maybe we can jump in and you guys can start tell us how you got into entrepreneurship. I know, Dan, we mentioned in your bio that you started at 17. Maybe you can start with what drove you to start a business and take the plunge at that young age.
Well, I mean, there's a lengthy backstory. The short answer is I got in a lot of trouble as a kid. I discovered programming in rehab. So that gives you kind of a sense of the colorfulness of my childhood. And at 17, I learned how to program. The internet was coming. I mean, this is 1997. And that really transformed my life to a point, where not only did writing code and building software companies became my passion, but really entrepreneurship for me, the ultimate personal development program. So that's, the first company I ever started was a vacation rental site for my dad because he had a couple cottages and wanted to rent them. And so it was like VRBO or Airbnb before. This is early 90s or late 90s. So that was like my first endeavor, but I failed the first couple. It wasn't until I was 24 that, reading books, business books, sounds crazy, but it took me a while to get into those that really transformed my life.
And did you have a mentor through those early journeys that you were reaching out to for business advice? So
I would say no, kind of, and absolutely 100%. So like the first 2 I failed because I didn't have a mentor. And it wasn't until halfway through the 3rd try, Spheric Technologies, that I cold emailed Frank McKenna, the man. And that cold email turned into 3 introductions, and those 3 individuals became my mentors. But I didn't even know, and that was 26. So it took me, I'm a slow learner. I'm just lucky I got started early. But yeah, now today it's just part of my process.
Okay. And so Renee, what was your journey like to get into entrepreneurship?
Legal, not illegal. I was also 17, actually. I started a restaurant with my sister, and we did that for 4 years because my mom told me to get a job. And I thought being an entrepreneur meant that you didn't work a lot and you made a lot of money. So at 17,
I feel like that's a common thought process.
It's the opposite. And then I had like a natural progression of going to school, university, master's, and traveling. And then I just got into when social media became a thing that people were actually applying to business. That's when I actually started business consulting, teaching small business owners how to actually leverage social media for their business. That eventually became a world-class PR agency. So I worked with funded technology companies from all over the world, which is kind of how I met this guy. And and it's been a fun little journey ever since.
Yeah, I find that really fascinating too, that there was definitely that intersect in both of your guys' stories of technology into entrepreneurship.
Well, we met at a tech event in Toronto.
Okay.
Yeah, on Twitter, of all things.
We met on Twitter.
Twitter.
Mesh marketing in Toronto.
True story.
Yeah, I love that story. That's like the before Tinder is Twitter.
It was,
100%. Yeah.
But this is when like there weren't too many people on Twitter, maybe 1 million at this time.
Yeah.
And you could use these like really cool tools like TweetDeck, and you can kind of parse who you wanted to talk to. And he somehow made his way in there. Yeah.
She picked me up.
That's not true.
And the rest is
Why is
history,
everybody laughing?
right? That's awesome. I love that. So maybe we'll kind of fast forward a few years. You guys now call Kelowna home.
100%.
So maybe you can talk about why Kelowna, how you ended up from meeting in Toronto at a tech conference to now being here in Kelowna.
Yeah.
You want to share?
Okay, so Kelowna is just this, I call it the vortex. Once you come here, you can't leave. You're stuck here. But we had all these intentions on practically moving to California. And then the pandemic hit. And we're like, oh, we don't want to go. And it was actually hard for us to go into the States. We couldn't even leave Canada. So we decided to pack everything up, come to Kelowna with our kids, take them out of school in New Brunswick, put them into school here, and spend 6 months here until summer came in New Brunswick. We'd go back. But it was 10 days in and being exposed to all of this very quickly. We were driving up to Big White, and I turned to Dan. The kids were in the back, and they're like pumped, ready to go.
This was on the 10th day.
10th day. And I go, Dan, would you move here? And he goes, yeah, would you? And I said, 100%. And he goes, okay, we'll seal it with a kiss and we'll make it happen.
Oh, I love that.
And then we did. And then it wasn't a few months later.
She got all teary-eyed. I called Richard Deacon, our real estate guy, and I said, we need a house. He's like, really? And I'm like,
yeah, so it just happened. It was meant to be.
Yeah. But I mean, why did we move here? The people, I think, a bunch of great people. I'm involved as an investor, and I sit on the board of Pila. I have like 9 coaching clients that I work with local that I had even before I moved here. So there was like the highest concentration for me per capita of coaching clients. The mountains, like the access to like Big White and Silver Star, the backcountry, the mountain biking, the lake, wake surfing. I mean, and if you're into wineries, if you're into golfing, like there's just so much going on here. It just, I don't know. It's kind of, I still think, for me now, I feel like it's not a secret, but I still think the rest of Canada and the U.S. need, they haven't figured it out, or it'd be just flooded.
It's a vibe. There's definitely something about this place.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because you speak about not only how scenic and beautiful it is here, which I think usually captures people's heart when they first arrive, but you also talk about that you can operate your businesses here and grow the businesses you want to grow as
empires.
Yes.
I'm on a thing right now that empires will be built here.
I love that.
Yeah, there's just so much
on
talent.
The back of a boat.
Wherever the meetings have to take place.
Mountain. Yeah. And I think that's, I grew up here in the Okanagan, and I think that was it was a place to retire. And so it's really neat to hear individuals like yourself that now call this home see that inspiration of where we're growing and the possibility that's here in that region.
Totally.
So as being entrepreneurs, you said you wanted to join it because you didn't have to work a lot and you make a lot of money, and you quickly realized that's not the case.
It's the opposite.
And so how do you guys both balance being entrepreneurs and having a family life? And really, what is their balance in that?
There's integration.
Yeah.
Yeah, we try to strive for a term called harmony. right? I don't think there's balance.
No, it's like the hardest thing for me was when he said, okay, both are entrepreneurs and now we have a family. So what are we doing successfully in our businesses that we can apply to our family life? And it was Gantt charts and like
I didn't create
project
a Gantt chart,
management
but I may have
systems
looked at
and
one.
weekly meetings, quarterly retreats. It's like the things we do in our startups, in our businesses to be successful as a leader, we implemented it in our family life. And to this day, we're going on probably 7 years of doing quarterly retreats, and every week we have this spreadsheet that we look at.
We do weekly meetings, we check in with each other. So we like literally run our family life the same way you'd have rhythms for your business. And it's kind of non-negotiables. We plan our calendars, like we're into like 2024 right now.
Wow.
Yeah, just because we want to like add all the vacation stuff, and like we also do like a ton of travel. Like the world's opening up, and we just got finished like a bunch of trips. We're heading out Costa Rica. Then we're doing. I don't even want to tell people because they're gonna hate us, but we got a lot of cool trips. But there's only one way to do that. And I'm the CEO of 2 companies right now, High Speed Ventures and SAAS Academy. Renee's got her company. So like, I mean, the truth is we got a lot of great team members that support us as well. So we have great.
Yeah, I think we should have started with that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to go to. It's the people.
You can't get, and I know there's like this thing with Kim Kardashian
Yes,
right now,
yes.
but you actually can't be successful without the people around you. And I never say below us, but beside us, ahead of us, that has helped us. Like we have an incredible person that works with us, Betty, in the house, helps with the house and the kids. That
Shout out to Betty.
We cannot do what we do without that support with our teams, with the community. It's impossible. Nobody can do it.
And I'm curious too, you guys talk about your kids. Do they operate when you're running your household and your family like a business too? Are they a part of those discussions as well?
Yeah. We bring them into everything. I mean, they're here. They'd be in the room if there was really, you know what I mean? If it wasn't, but yeah, our kids travel with us. I mean, it's a big thing. Like I've got a speaking thing in Vancouver and Noah's coming with me for the day. Like we try to integrate it. They see when like you're on a Zoom meeting and they walk in because their toy broke. It's like we don't shush them away. We're like, come on in here, let's work on this. So I don't know. I'm really excited to see how they grow up. And even if they're not entrepreneurs, that's fine. Like there's no pressure. It's just we want to show them just what we do. There's no like separation. You know, we have. The cool part is a lot of our friends are entrepreneurs too. So like our business partners, like literally, that's why we're in Okanagan and Kelowna, is all the business I've invested in, my clients, their friends, they come to our house. We go hiking up Knox on Tuesdays. Like our kids join us. So it's all just, again, it's the harmony that we're striving for.
Yeah. That's so neat. And it was great to get to meet both your sons today.
They're cool,
awesome. Yeah. So I actually have seen you speak about this before, Dan, that you've learned from one of your mentors, Naval Ravikant from AngelList. And you were using it in decision making. It was an analogy, but you talked about in investing, you often, as an investor, have an opinion that not the greater population maybe agrees with or believes. And I was hoping maybe you could speak to that notion and talk a little bit about what an investment thesis is to you guys as individuals.
Yeah, so Renee and I are both angel investors, which is super fun. So Naval taught me a long time ago. So I moved to San Francisco 2008 after I sold my first company. And I was angel investing prior, but I didn't really know how to do it. So like meeting Naval, I was on the angel list when angel list was actually a Google list. And there was me, Ryan Holmes from Hootsuite. There's a few Canadians on there, but that's like how we learned of investing in deals. And he taught me the concept of if it's like a quadrant, there's consensus, and it's like, non-consensus, consensus, and then there's like wrong and right. And to be a great investor, you literally have to be non-consensus and right, meaning that most of your investors' friends don't agree with you, which is a crazy idea. But if you think about that in life, if you do things that everybody else think is normal, then you can't have an abnormal life. So I think like from an investing point of view, I passed on Uber, even though Travis Kalanick was an investor in my company. I was there when Uber, Taxi, Ryan, like Renee knows the whole group, like Travis and Ryan, all the early founders, we were there. And other people, because I was like, you're not even going to be the CEO. I don't think this is going to work. Like, again, I didn't have consensus. This was a good idea, but other people obviously did. Same thing with Airbnb. So like that's the way I look at it is, you know, what do you have conviction around? What do you believe to be true? And if everybody else also believes it to be true, you should be concerned, which is kind of a crazy idea. So this is true for business. This is true for making investments.
Super fascinating. And so, Renee, you're an investor as well. Is there certain things that you look for when you're looking for an investment to make?
So full admission, this is new to me in the last probably, 4 months, 5 months. And so I'm learning, and I'm surrounded by incredible women. Rose is actually here. The Women's Equity Lab has just said, hey, you don't know what you're doing, but just get fully involved. And so my thesis in all of this is to just, especially for women, this is kind of a calling for women to just try, to just do it. And I know there's a lot of women's funds out there. There's a lot in Ontario, there's a lot in BC. And I say, just give it a go. And you don't have to know what you're doing, but you have to be interested, intrigued, ask the questions, show up even when you don't want to be there. And it's very intimidating because the people are showing all these spreadsheets and all these numbers and how things are supposed to work. And so I'm just learning. But I have a great mentor, and I'm reading the books.
She's better than I am. Renee's got a sixth sense for people.
That's so
yeah,
great.
definitely intuition. But I just say go at it, try it.
I really love that you are taking this plunge in, because I feel like it is scary. And if you don't have mentors to kind of guide you through the way, where do you start? And I think that's what is exciting about the Angel Summit and the event that we're doing tonight, and the combination of it is we're taking 30 investors that have never invested or maybe done some side deals, come into a room to kind of learn that process for the first time, because it is easier to do it when you have other peers you're learning
100%.
it.
Yeah, and I think it used to be an all boys club too. And that was really hard. I mean, even for other men too, to get into this. And I think what's happening, a huge shift in the last like 5 years has just been like, this is available for everybody to try out. And it's also good not for just the person investing, but for the people that are asking for that money as well.
Yeah, so this is the 4th year with the Angel Summit, and we've seen that already, the switch as we've had more women investors or diverse investors participate. The diversity of the companies that are pitching also that reach the final 6 is different than we saw in the initial years, which is exciting and inspiring to get to see.
I love that.
So I have to ask this, that through even in the last 4 months for you, but with you, Dan, is there a company that you've experienced that maybe has got away, or you're like, oh, why not that one?
Oh,
Uber?
yeah. No, I mean, there's, you know, it's funny when you start angel investing, nobody tells you this, but you end up spending most of your time with the worst companies, right? So it's kind of this dichotomy where you're like, I want to invest to be around these really energized, motivated, exciting entrepreneurs. And then sometimes you I've done 50 deals now, and I usually spend most of my time with the ones that aren't doing well, the Intercoms, the Hootsuite. They're good. They raise their next round of funding. They put a board together. They're like calling me for like intros, but they don't, you know what I mean?
They don't need you.
Not the same level of support.
No, exactly. They don't need the same level of support, which is fine. But I think like when I look at the ones that got away, they're ones that I probably should have said yes, not because I understood the problem or not, just because of the people. So like my filter has always been like, I have to have the problem, the people, there's a whole people component, but I think I should have just indexed towards just people, because I just think at the end of the day, if you really enjoy the conversations with the person, you're learning, you like the way they're executing, you feel the trust. That, to me, that's how I even look at business partners today. Those are the non-negotiables. I just index for almost the quality of conversations and quality of relationships.
100%.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when you spoke about Renee and her kind of investment thesis, you said she has a great read on people, and it wasn't, again, it's not necessarily the idea or the business, it's the people that you're investing in.
I've seen so many brilliant people fold because it got hard, and you can just, when somebody's got grit, you just know. You're like, how did you start this? Wow. Okay. I don't even care what you're doing. Like, I almost want stock in the person. Right.
Yeah.
I wish you could do that. There's a couple people that I'm mentoring through AO too that I just know, like, they got it.
Yeah. It may not be this company.
No,
but they're going to win. Winners are going to win. You can tell when you meet somebody like that.
Yep, because they move the needle. They do the things they say they're going to do when they're going to do them.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Results or reasons?
Oh, yeah.
That's a good one.
I got that from my sister-in-law recently, and I was on the chairlift. I was like, wow, that's really good, Jess.
Yeah.
She gave it to me.
Yeah,
No way.
and
Yeah.
on the chairlift too.
Yeah, no, board meetings.
Yeah. And so for someone who's looking to, maybe they've started their business, they have some early traction, but they need to take on some outside money or are looking for that first investor, would you guys have advice for them of where to start or how to start the right conversations?
No, you take this.
Well, I raised capital for 2 companies in the past, and what I would give and what I give to entrepreneurs is try to have not just one lead that can really dictate things, because I think if it's your first time raising and you just have one person that's writing a big check, then you can almost feel like you have to like take their advice. And the truth is, when you're starting off, nobody really knows what they're doing. Let's be honest. Like we can tell a great story, but like it changes from Monday to Friday, right? Or Friday to Monday. So to me, I would say try to get a few investors that believe in you, so you have kind of like a pool of people to lean on. You obviously want a lead investor that has enough capital so that like they might follow on. But yeah, I'm not a fan of taking capital from people that ask for things that are not normal, right? So sometimes I see this with high net worth people that are in real estate or other types of businesses, and they expect like, show me a completed cash flow analysis and show me a forecast and a pro forma and all these things. And it's just like, those are not normal documents for an early stage founder. So those are the kind of and if you just know, like I think past behavior is such a good prediction of future success. And if the person you're talking to has a track record of litigating, I can tell you 100%, there's a chance they will litigate you in the future. So like, I always look, even partners that I get involved with, what have they done in the past? And that tells me how they're going to act in the future. And you don't want somebody that's going to act like that. It just creates problems. So I would say, do the due diligence, ask for referrals, and do your own, back checking. It's easier than ever to do that. And if your gut tells you no, just move on. There's other capital.
And I think that's so key, because I think as an entrepreneur starting out, it's sometimes easy to say, okay, someone's willing to write a check. I'm so
it feels
excited.
so good.
But it is really a partnership going forward on that.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure there is alignment on
You have
the
a
visions
boss.
for the company.
You have a boss when that happens. I always say network, ask questions, be curious, talk to people, ask for introductions. But I mean, that's an excellent point too. And then as soon as you accept financing, you have a boss.
Yeah.
You're reporting to somebody else.
Yeah, for sure. So you kind of spoke about this around track record and that it's an indication of where they're going to go in the future. Both of you guys, I think, in your businesses help to mentor a lot of individuals. But could you guys talk about how you personally create a growth mindset? Because I think that's something that you both exhibit, both professionally and even personally. Because I think, as you said, you take it into your personal life too.
Well, I can tell you a story about, I think, the moment that
I always get nervous when she starts a sentence with that. I'm like, what story are we going here?
So it's going to get to the point. But the moment that you allude to falling in love with me was, I remember driving in, I don't know, my car was like a 2003 something. And we were driving from Toronto to North Bay. So it's like a 4-hour drive. And he was like, do you have any gum? And he was like checking the console of my car. And I was so embarrassed. Like, oh my gosh, don't go in there. Because I had a bunch of Success Magazine interviews. So back in the day, there were CDs. And he's like, wow. Oh, sorry, that's my kid's bedtime. And he goes, you listen to this stuff. And I was like, yeah, I think it's important to anybody in becoming the next version of yourself to have these personal development, whatever it is, reading books, networking, listening to podcasts, because the person that you need to become, like that you are now to become to that like $1 million founder or the $2 million, $10 million founder is a different person. You constantly need to be evolving. And I call it ABC, always be curious. Because if you want to live a mediocre life, then you do mediocre things and you have mediocre mindset. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I mean, I'm sure the people listening, that's not who they are. And it's always be curious, always be asking questions. And yeah, so the mindset thing, I mean, that's number one. In my coaching, it's number one is like, what are the roadblocks? Because generally we know how to get to the next level. There's a lot of free content online, right? It's just like what's stopping me from doing this? What's stopping me from raising around? What's stopping me from actually doing this thing? And when you understand that, it's like, you can get to the next level. And understanding those habits and those rituals, it really comes down to habits.
Yeah, I fell in love with her because of the CDs. Fun fact, if you ever ask me, I did. So it was a John Maxwell CD.
Yes.
And 7 years later, I got John Maxwell to come to Moncton to meet Renee.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there's a whole story behind that, but we won't tell that one today. The growth mindset. If you meet my children, I hope all of you guys do some point, ask them, what does it mean to be a Martell? And the first thing they're going to say is 100% accountable.
No, they said we do hard things.
No, but the first one's 100% accountable, do hard things, number 2. There's a whole series, but the 100% accountable to me is the growth mindset, because that's going to create almost the action list. It's like, and it's a tough pill for people to swallow. Like, I'm literally saying that no matter what your circumstance is, that there's decisions you could have made 10 years ago, 15 years ago that could have changed where you're at. And if you just get rid of the blame game and you kind of approach life like that, it just, I don't know, to me, that's what growth mindset is. Number one, it's the belief that the way I am is something I can evolve, right? That it is the ability to, I call it belief collecting, feeding our mind. So like reading every day, 10 pages, like it's part of our routine. We've been doing it for decades. But yeah, I just think the 100% accountable. I just think right now, like people, especially if you're a tech startup or an investor, it's like, do the work that needs to be done to get the result you're trying to achieve, and nobody's going to do it for you. And if you don't like your results, go look in the mirror.
Reasons are results.
Reasons are results. There we go.
And so can I ask a personal question of what motivates you guys right now, and is something that you're kind of feeding yourselves in that accountability or that growth mindset? Is there a book, something you're listening to?
Oh, wow. Right now, I keep coming back to, The Big Leap is an absolute Bible for anyone working on themselves and their business. Right now, I am reading Deep Work by Cal Newport. And it's so, oh my gosh, it's one thing, like regardless of the industry, the business that you're in, you have to do. It's about focus. And I don't know. What about you?
I'm gonna plug my book. So I've been working on a book. It's called Buy Back Your Time: How to Build a Business You Don't Grow to Hate. So the whole idea is this framework called the buyback principle, how to get leverage with your time. And really it's get unstuck, reclaim your freedom, and build your empire. That's why I'm like a big fan of the word empire, because I think life isn't about, getting rich and doing nothing. It's about unlocking wealth to provide more options and the ability to like almost lean into your genius even more. That's what I do with my clients. But what inspires me, every company I have, like, if it's the book project or SAAS Academy or High Speed, there's always an impact component. So even when it gets hard, I always appreciate the hard, because it's in that moment, only in that moment, that I get the opportunity to grow, which sounds like, Napoleon Hill's positive mental thinking, but it's true. Literally, until there's a moment that is hard, you're not really learning anything new. And if you can use that perspective and then say, okay, this is a feedback loop for me to kind of grow. And everything I do, it's always about impact. It's always about like who the customers are, how are we going to make their lives better. And that always pulls me forward when I'm having a hard time.
Yeah, such a great point. So you talked about empire building and the Okanagan and Kelowna potentially being a great place for empires to be built. You talk about having impact here. I think both of you guys are very community minded and intentional in the communities you want to live. So what do you think the Okanagan entrepreneurial tech ecosystem needs next to build on the success that has started in the foundation that we have here currently?
Ooh, more women in tech?
Yeah. I will proudly stand up for that too. I feel like that's something
100%. And now that things are opening up, more in-person events for a chance for people to bump into each other. What did you say on the mezzanine? You said this place that we're in the Innovation Center was designed so people could collisions.
Yeah.
We need more collisions.
Yeah. That's actually, we've just been setting out our annual strategy in full planning mode, our team, and that's one of our priorities this year is to reignite collisions in our community.
I built a community in New Brunswick where I grew up, and then San Francisco, I got plugged into it. So I got to see like the heart of tech. And you know, I find like there's a lot of people want to say like we need to be the next Silicon Valley. I'm all about being the first best version of the city. So I say lean into Kelowna, figure out what makes it different, make that, you know, almost like your brand characteristics. And like, I don't know, there's just so much. It's just almost more of that. So I love the in-person. To me is like the most important thing, because I think no business is done without relationships, and relationships are formed in person. I love Zoom. It's efficient, but we can all agree there's no,
you can't replace
there's
that
no, you have a meal with somebody and you feel like you know them. You have a Zoom session, you hang up, and it's like you kind of forget them the next day. So I just think the more we can foster collisions, in-person activities, incorporating the physical stuff, because I think like when people go through tough things together, they create new connections and bonds. And then just lean into what Kelowna and the Okanagan has. It's got a good, great foundation and history of like certain tech companies and experience. And I'm like blown away. Every day I meet new entrepreneurs locally and I'm like, wow, you're doing that here? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, let's go. Like, let's do this.
Yeah, it's so inspiring.
It is.
I feel like I love coming to the Innovation Center, just getting to be in my role at Accelerate Okanagan. I'm always fascinated by the people that walk through our door that live and call the Okanagan home. I'm like blown away by what's going on here. So I think we're going to switch gears a little bit and actually take some questions from the audience. So I'm just going to pull up some of that we see coming through. So first one is around raising capital. So when raising capital for a startup, how much equity will you have to give up? Oh, that's a tough one.
It's a great question. The general rule of thumb in today's market is probably, I would say if you had to make me pick a number, it's about 25% dilution. So like wherever you're at, if you're raising around, you kind of figure out what the valuation will be, that the amount of money you're raising is about 25%. That's like, can it be 40%? Maybe. Can it go down to 10%? It happens. But you know, the sweet spot is about 20 to 25%, because that means the investors have enough equity to make them focus, and the entrepreneurs raise enough so that they have enough capital for a 16 months, 24 month kind of build out to get ready for that next fundraise.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So when entrepreneurs are starting out, sometimes they're surrounded by people that maybe don't believe in their idea or what they're wanting to start. And so this person's asking, if those around you don't see the value in your idea, how do you remain motivated?
Get a different circle. Right, that's what you'd say for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting because the question could be like, if people don't believe your idea is a good idea, which is different than people not believing in you, right? So that 100%, if people don't, if you're like sharing your ideas, because and we all go through this, you know, it's the entrepreneurial journey where initially, you know, your peer group are people you probably went to high school with, your family members, and they've probably never done the thing you're about to go do. They've never started a tech company, raised capital. So those things are foreign to them, and truthfully, they're just protecting you because they care about you. So I wouldn't even get upset about it. I would understand like they're giving you that advice because they don't want to see you fall, hurt, and they're giving you feedback out of their fear, right? But so yes, find people like that are in the accelerator, in the community. But if it's the idea that they don't like, I definitely think you need to talk to the customer. And to me, if the person I'm talking to isn't a potential ideal customer profile, then I don't really take their feedback too strong, because
they might not use it.
Well, it's like your feedback doesn't matter. Unless you can give me a check, then I'll listen. But even at that, I would say, hey, thank you for the capital. Let me go do the customer development. Let me go get some pre-sales. Let me talk to the market.
Yeah, I love that.
But you got to talk to the customer. Yeah.
I'm sure you probably live and breathe that, especially at Accelerate Okanagan. We're constantly driving home customer discovery.
Well, it's I don't know why there's such an aversion to it. And it's like, it's uncomfortable because founders wear these rose-colored glasses and they're so in love with their idea. They're like, oh, everyone's going to buy this. And then you talk to the customer, it's like, probably not, maybe, who knows? But that part of, especially where we mentor in AO, it's a part they just don't want to do, but it's so crucial in the development of the idea and understanding the customer and what they want.
And I often find too, once they actually start having the conversations, they're willing to have more. It's like getting the first 5 or 10 out of the way.
And it's exhausting and it's annoying, and they don't want to do these customer development calls and they don't want to have these conversations, but it's probably the most rich, important data they need, especially when they're first starting out.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Okay, next one we have here is, what should you look for when you're trying to find a mentor?
You got some thoughts, Pina?
For me personally, it's somebody who's done it before successfully. And it's like, because they're on chapter 15 or a whole new book and you're just starting out, it's like, what did they do? Because the whole idea is to try to avoid those time-consuming or expensive mistakes as much as possible. You still have to make them. It's a part of the journey, but they'll give you hopefully directionally accurate advice to at least get there a little bit faster with not costing as much.
Yeah, I think of like, there's a difference between like a peer group, and these are usually people that are about 2 years ahead. So if you think about like, I want to surround myself with people that could be considered mentors, but they're successful. Maybe they're 4 or 5 years ahead. Then there's like the true mentors. Like these are the people that have like been exactly where you want to have been. What I look for is people that also share the values. So my trick is I use nonprofit boards. So if you guys want the real trick, go make a list of all the nonprofits you align with, figure out who sits on their board, and reach out to those people, because they're already telling you that they're generous with their time and they're good-hearted people. And if I'm getting advice from somebody, I want somebody that's aligned with creating the future the way I would want to create it, not getting advice from somebody that's cutthroat and dog eat dog and like just not the same way I approach life. So it's like either activities that they're involved in or nonprofits. Those are kind of like my two pools that I go source from.
That's a great hack. I've never heard that one before.
I got a whole video on my YouTube channel about mentors. That's one tip. There's 5 others.
Okay, I feel like I want to go check it out now too. And I think that's a really great point. You talked about peer groups, because sometimes you need to have someone you're looking at that's only 2 or 3 steps ahead of you. It's hard when someone's 10 years out from where
They don't
you
even
were.
know what the world looks like today.
Yeah.
Well,
They're
and
giving you advice that
also,
doesn't even make sense.
because they're already there, they forget about that part of the journey too. And they're like, just do this. It's so easy, but it's not.
Yeah.
So that's a good point in having somebody that's just a couple steps ahead too, because they just came out of that and it's new, it's fresh. It's like, it's a fresh wound for them, so they can help you avoid those mistakes.
Yeah. So next one, and this is kind of interesting because we were just talking about 5 to 10 years, is someone wants to know, where do you guys see yourselves in 5 to 10 years?
Oh, you go.
No, I want to hear your answer. This is fun.
5 to 10 years, how old will our kids be?
That's funny how moms go straight to how old will our kids be. I'm thinking how old I'm going to be.
18 and 19, almost 20. Well, they'll be out of the house. So in 10 years from now, traveling. As I said earlier, I'm just getting into this angel investing stuff and I'm really loving it. I believe my focus will be fully in that. And as part of the evolution of my business, We Weld Women too will be focusing on Web3 stuff and NFTs and really encouraging women to get into investing.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like the way I think about it is what I'm doing today is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. So Renee asked me once, she's like, what does retirement look like for you? I said, look around. Remember, you're like, because this is, I'm never not going to work, but we're still going to travel. We're still going to integrate the family. You know, you're thinking like, when's the kids gone? Because then all of a sudden we can really take this show on the road. But I'm never going to stop creating. So like High Speed Ventures is kind of like my investment vehicle, where I have a great team of partners and investors, like no other investors, but we look at deals. We do a lot of Web3 stuff. SAAS Academy will always be a part of my life because it's kind of like my happy place. And then writing books. I want to be a prolific writer. So like this is book 1 of hopefully 75 over the, you know, like I'm inspired by Peter Drucker and like John Maxwell and other authors. So
it's a good book.
Yeah. So I'm just going to keep doing what I do, but hopefully at a higher level.
Yeah. Love that. Those are great visions of like where
Well,
you
I might
wanna go.
retire. I don't.
Yeah, you can retire anytime.
So another question around what was your first investment, and the details of what you can share around some of your first investments.
Mine was just recent. The Women's Equity Lab. I don't even know if it's public. I think it's public.
Uh-oh.
I don't know.
Somebody's in trouble.
No, we're finalizing the paperwork for, I guess, our first real investment. It's so exciting. And there's just so much opportunity in the Okanagan with female-founded companies too coming through. I don't know how much I can share. So I'll pass it on to you.
And so just to clarify, so you guys, it's a women's
Equity Lab.
Yeah, Women's Equity Lab. It's a woman-ran fund, and
Yeah.
you guys are investing in a woman entrepreneur. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah,
That's
I think
super
that we're still working on the percentage of the ownership that's female owned, but yeah, there's a lot.
That's
There's some
great.
great things happening, and just people aren't talking about it.
Well,
So
we can't wait to share the news
I
when it goes
know,
public.
I
So
know.
we're excited
Yeah.
for that one. What about yourself, Dan?
I mean, anybody that's invested probably made a series of investments that were horrible in the early days. So my first deal was a pseudo mentor. The reason I give a lot of my advice because I made every mistake. So like the first mentor was not a good mentor. He asked me to invest in this dating site. I had no idea about dating sites. I shouldn't have got involved.
You were like, I just need to go on Twitter.
But I was just like, here's this
Find
guy
my
that I
mentor.
trust and I look up to, and he tells me he's going to do it. And that was a bad idea. I think we lost our money within a year. Then I did another one, lost my money. I mean, just like, it took a while to figure it out. But I had a mentor who told me, he's like, you could buy a new car, you can invest in an entrepreneur. I never forgot that. Every time I was like, oh, I could buy a new car, but no, we're going to invest in this entrepreneur. And I don't know, I'm a big fan of, supporting people's dreams. It's just it's a cool place. It's just a cool thing to do.
Yeah. So someone was asking about bad actors in a startup ecosystem, and any tips on identifying them in the ecosystem and how to maybe avoid them.
I'll give a quick story. Recently, I don't want to get in trouble. I recently was doing an event, and somebody approached us, and right off the bat, there was kind of some negative mojo. And this is where the world is super small because everybody knows everybody. And literally 1 or 2 text messages with the person's name to people I trust, these same people that we trust. And one of the responses was just, ooh. That's all I need to hear. All right. If you're going to say ooh to a person's name, I don't need. So and again, it's like, I think a lot of times we feel it in our gut, but we almost, in the early days, you feel like you got to see proof. I don't need proof. I'd rather have false positives or false negatives or whatever it is than move forward. So back channel, ask, look at their track record.
I think it's the same with the intuition and if you're making the right investment. It's like it's the person, you get that vibe. I mean, outside of even the startup ecosystem, just in business in general, you just know. But depends on who this person is, if they're going to be a founder that you're investing in, or even someone on the team. You got to fact check. It's like you wouldn't just hire somebody without asking their references.
But see, this is back to the 100% accountability, because somebody might be like, well, this person did that. Why is it my fault? You knew they were a bad actor. You chose to get involved with them. You know what I mean? So even that, I feel like people just need to be a little bit more honest with their gut. Nobody's ever said, I wish I didn't listen to my gut. Those words have never been uttered.
Yeah, there's something like 5 billion or million neurons or nerve endings in your stomach. So that intuition and the connection with people, it's real.
Yeah, I feel like even in my business career too, I feel like it's never been wrong, your gut.
Nope, it's never been wrong.
No, spidey senses.
And trust it, because you might get sued for wrongful dismissal or sued for something or some bad investment.
And then again, you're like, it's their fault. No, you made it, you know what I mean?
You
saw
always
you
end
saw
up being
it.
your fault.
You were like, no, I knew this, and I just kept it going. I shouldn't have. Yeah.
But also at the end of the day, it's better for them too, to move on.
So one last question here. What scares you the most?
I mean, as a parent, I think that's the obvious answer.
Let's not go there.
Yeah. As a new parent, I feel like that just I'm like, oh my God, everything's scary.
Everything is. I think as a female entrepreneur, it's just not living up to my full potential. And just knowing the impact that I can have for other women in business and not showing up in a way that I need to show up for them to be successful and thrive, I think is one of my worst fears.
My biggest fear is that somebody meets me and the person they meet is not the person they thought I was. And then so I like go out of my way. And then in the same breath, I'll also say getting canceled, right? Because like I'm who I am. I try to be 100% who I am, you know, like the good, the bad, the ugly. And then sometimes we hire people and they think it's a certain way and it's not, or I'll say something on Instagram. You guys should follow me. It is pretty good content. And I get in trouble, but I just want people, I don't know. I just think like we should just try to be authentically who we are, and we'll attract the people that resonate with that, and we'll keep the people that don't away. And life is great. And you shouldn't have to, not everybody should have to believe everything you believe. And I think that's somehow that, I don't know, I feel like we got away from that. And I like individuals. I love people with opinions. I love different experiences. And I just want people, when they meet me, if they've been following me online and consume my content, that they're like, oh, that is who he is, right?
It matches.
Yeah.
Well, I think that wraps up our portion for tonight. I would like to thank both of you guys for taking the time to come down here, get to speak to the group online and answer a few of their questions. I think we're both, like the Okanagan, and I speak on behalf of our team too, we're just so lucky to have both of you here and calling Kelowna home. I think you're going to have a lasting impact on entrepreneurs for years to come in our region. And so I'm excited to see where that's going to go.
Brea.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having us.
Thanks,
Thank you
everybody.
so much.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Stay tuned. I think the winner announcement is coming up shortly too. So I'll pass it back over to Alex.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Brea. And thanks so much, Dan and Renee. Dan, I totally agree with you on the loud talker piece for myself. I'm pretty sure that's how I got this role tonight as is. So we can both be loud talkers together. And I reiterate what Brea said. It's so wonderful to have you calling the Okanagan home and the place where you can build your empires. So thanks so much for joining us this evening. So the moment that y'all have been waiting for the winner's announcements is just around the corner. I'm going to be heading upstairs in a few minutes here to grab the check that has the winner's name on it. And so we'll be back in this room in a couple minutes to announce People's Choice winner, as well as the winner of a $150,000 investment. So stay on the line, meet one more person, and we'll be back here soon for the final announcements.